Darcy! I say, Darcy! Elizabeth, how many times have I told you to call me Fitzwilliam? Yes, I know, Darcy, but it isn't a sexy name. What's wrong with your voice? Listen, I have a limited range. Did you know, though, Darcy, it's Jane Austen July? Oh, you don't seem very enthusiastic. Well, it is kind of most of my character point. And yet, I still loved you after that first proposal. Now let's not talk about this again. Just get on with it. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. How are you all? If you're still here after that very silly intro, thank you. This is my official Jane Austen July TBR for this year. It's very exciting. It is the usual month-long Jane Austen themed readathon, and it is hosted by Katie from Books and Things, by Marissa from Blatantly Bookish, and this year they have a new host, the wonderful Claudia from Spencer's Library, and I will leave all their announcement videos down below, and their Goofy's group. They have a bingo card this year, so it's very exciting, and I'm going to get into their prompts and my plans for this year. So they have two group read-alongs as usual, and they're not evenly split this time because the first one that is the group read-along is Mansfield Park, so it's much longer. And I think this is the only one I've only read once. And, okay, it is my least favourite, but I do still really love it. All Austen is 5 stars in my book, and no pun intended. And I think it's just because it has a slightly weaker heroine compared to Lizzie in Pride and Prejudice, for instance, but it's still a wonderful book, and I think I will enjoy rereading it particularly because it'll just be nice to read it along with everyone else and join in and hear people's comments about their reading experiences. And then the second book that is the group read is Persuasion, which is my joint favourite with Pride and Prejudice. Sometimes I say this is my favourite one, but I think Pride and Prejudice is probably the best in terms of pacing and characterisation, but Persuasion is definitely her most mature work. I love it. I am in fact, of course, wearing my Persuasion earrings, especially because I obviously have 3 Jane Austen themed earrings to choose from. And I'm so excited to read this one again because it has a love letter, and I'm such a sucker for that, even though I'm not normally a romantic. I don't know what Austen does to me. Their next prompt is to read something by Austen, but not a novel. And she has quite a lot of short stories, juvenilia and whatnot, but I'm not going to read anything for this year because I would really like to reread Lady Susan, but I'm just not going to have time, and that's okay. And hopefully next year I will read her letters, but I'm not really in the position to buy another book, which I don't know if I'll have time to read this month. So that's okay. We're skipping over that. The third prompt. Sorry, I'm really hyper. I don't know why. I had a haircut today, so I feel, I'm just feeling myself. What can I say? The third prompt is to read a non-fiction book either about Jane Austen or about her time. And this is a book that I wanted to read last year, but I couldn't get out of the library because of COVID. So this year, it's happened. And I have What Matters in Jane Austen by John Mullen, who I have heard wonderful things about. He's also recently written a book about Dickens, so if I like this, I will read that, I am sure. But it's got 20 chapters, and I like the sound of it because it doesn't just look at each book in separate chapters. It mixes and matches it, and I think you have to really have read the novels to not get spoiled. So now I'm in that position where I read them all, I can enjoy this, and hopefully if I can read this earlier in the month, then when I'm rereading her books, I'll see them in a new light. And I know he teaches English at UCL, or at least he did, so he's pretty renowned, and I'm just excited to finally read this because this is the main recommendation that I've had during Jane Austen July for this prompt. The fourth prompt is to read a retelling of Jane Austen. Now for this one, I'm kind of cheating. It's not a direct retelling, but I have pre-ordered the book Reputation by Lex Croucher, and it comes out on the 8th of July. It's Jane Austen inspired very much. It's set during Regency era, and it sounds like it's very witty and the same kind of characterisation, but I just really wanted to read that and not a retelling because I read loads of retellings last year, and quite a lot of them I didn't love, but I feel like I've kind of exhausted the obvious retellings of Austen, and I'm sure there's more out there, but right now I really want to read something that's Regency inspired. It'd be really interesting to read something modern and compare it to Austen. The fifth prompt is the one I normally struggle with the most. It's to read a book by a contemporary Jane Austen, and it's just because the fiction of the time doesn't interest me as much as Austen does, and it always seems to fall short. So I was inspired by Claudia because this was on her TBR, and I thought, yes, I also have this book, and it's been languishing on my shelf for a couple of years, and it is A Vindication of the Rights of Woman by Mary Wollstonecraft, a cornerstone of feminism and feminist literature, or writing and philosophy and argument, and it'll just be probably really dense, and I'm sure I'll read it very slowly, but I think it will be just wonderful to read something that was written almost 2 centuries ago, probably, not quite sure of the publication date, but to look at what a woman is writing about at the same time as Jane Austen would be so cool. And also I never really thought to look at the non-fiction of the time, so this will be a nice change. And it would also be my non-fiction book of the month. The 6th prompt is to watch a direct screen adaptation. Now, I haven't seen the 95 Persuasion adaptation, and since I'm going to be rereading it, I think it's time, because Persuasion doesn't have a bunch of adaptations. I've heard the 2006 film is not great. I know that Netflix is making a new one, and I really hope it's good. I'm a little scared because I saw one of the costumes and it was not accurate, but I'm going to hold out hope it's going to be good. But until then, I'm going to watch the Persuasion, probably rewatch the Emma 2020 version. I think I said I rewatched that last year and I didn't. But it is one of my favourite Austen adaptations, for sure. And then the last prompt is to watch a modern retelling. And I'm not sure to watch this. I'm tempted to watch... Wow, Jenny. I can't talk today. To watch Clueless, because I haven't seen it for such a long time. And if I watch the Emma adaptation that is classic Austen, it might be nice to kind of compare. But I'm not sure. If you have any good Austen recommendations, let me know. And then a couple of little extra ones, because it's me and I can't stop myself. I need to read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett because it's the Women's Prize winner announcement on the 7th of July. So this will probably be what I read first, along with Mansfield Park, because it's the last one I've not read. Okay, that's a lie. I DNF'd How the One Land Sister Sweeps Her House. I didn't get on with that, but I read the other 4, so it's time for me to read this, and I'm so excited. And then I'm going to buddy read with Dina from Hella Going Paradise by Toni Morrison, so we can kind of finish this trilogy. I did that. It's kind of a loose trilogy, and this is something I know nothing about apart from it has this dramatic opening with a group of 4 women being attacked, and it just sounds very intriguing. And I'm excited to read another Toni Morrison. Yeah. That's all there is to say about that. And I still haven't read the book I got for my Booktube spin number 2, so I've got to read it this month, and it's The 16 Trees of the Sun by Lars Mitting, and he is, I think, the only Norwegian author I'm aware of, anyway, on my shelves. And I bought this in 2018, on New Year's Day, so I've had it for a while. Hopefully I can get to this. I'm not sure. It has a really nice beginning. I'm very sure when I bought this I probably picked it up, read the first page and liked it, and that's why I bought it. So let's hope the second page and the rest of it is also just as good. And then the 3 books that I picked out of my TBR jar, that was a nice sliding sound for you, are The Years by Virginia Woolf, which is the first Virginia Woolf book I bought, actually, because it's set in the Victorian times. I knew nothing about it and that kind of intrigued me. But I'm also not expecting it to be as good as the other ones like Mrs. Dalloway or To the Lighthouse, because it's not as famous. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. If I don't read this month, I'm fine with that. I will save it for October, but I do feel like it would be quite nice to read an adventure story in summer, so I'll see if I can get to this. And The Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire, which is poetry. It will be good to read this because I think I put it on my classics of 2021 that I want to read, and I'm not halfway through that yet, so we'll see what I read out of that. And then I don't have it in the room with me, and I'm too lazy to go and get it, but the short story collection I want to read is called Outsiders, which is an anthology by I think 10 or 11 different authors, and it has a theme of being an outsider in different ways. And I bought it basically because Jen Campbell has a story in it, and that's it. So I don't know all of the authors, I do know some of them, but it would just be nice to potentially discover new authors. And I think that's it. This has been a wild, hyper, very stuttering TBR, but I'm mainly just here to say I'm excited for Jane Austen July. Are you taking part in Jane Austen July, or do you have any books you particularly want to read in July? I always want to read a lot of books in summer. I don't know if you have a seasonal feeling, but I have quite a lot of books that feel like it would be good to read them in summer. So I'm always a little bit stressed out by how much reading I want to do. Anyway, I will calm down now and say goodbye, but I will see you soon for Bookish Shenanigans. Bye!